And we are back at the studio. You can see Roy myself and you. Hi, Roy. How are you? You just came yesterday.
Yes, Lucas, how are you? It's good to see you again. I saw you last year. You made it rain. You were awesome. Now, good to see you again. Hello, everybody sitting there in the room looking at us right now.
Roy, I just want to present you shortly. You're an author of The Art of Unit Testing, Elastic Leadership, and the upcoming Enterprise DevOps books. You work with some large companies to help implement continuous delivery at scale, and you're going to have your presentation. You haven't had it yet. So when is it, and what is going to be about?
So my talk today is at 2 o'clock today in the One Alpha, I think. It's going to be about test-driven development in JavaScript. It's basically based on the course that I teach, which is I'm going to actually do a full day tomorrow, a workshop on TDD in JavaScript. That's basically it. I'm just going to show the whole idea of test-driven development from scratch, from zero. And we're going to go from there to understand what does it look like to develop a feature, how can we refactor, and what does it look like when you're not sure what to do? Where do you advance when you work on TDD?
So I can imagine the presentation is going to be quite technical, with details on how to, right?
Oh, yeah. It's going to be, I would say 50% is going to be demos of me coding and asking the audience questions.
Okay. So now we know it's Alpha 1 at 2 p.m. Let's not give anything away anymore. Let's talk about the music that we just heard. It was Dylan Beatty singing a song yesterday. You missed the party. You just came at night, but it was the first time I heard Dylan Beatty. And I know you yourself are a musician, right?
That's true. Yeah, I actually have a studio at home, and I make that's my second life is making music for films and TV. And in my first life, I do this. So this pays for the other life as well. That's basically the way it works.
So it's really interesting to talk with the developers about their hobbies and business and what do they do, because I met astrophysics and all kinds of people. So you heard Dylan Beatty quite sometimes, right?
Yeah, I think I hear Dylan at every conference I go to, basically, with his hat and his guitar, and it's always so funny and such a cool guy. Like, he made his own language. You can't have when I say geeky jokes at dinner and everyone doesn't laugh, that's like a 5. But when Dylan tells jokes at dinner, that's like a 10, basically.
Dylan, you're a rock star. We love you.
Literally,
so that's the thing. I remember last year we actually were talking about blockchain at some point. Would you like to talk about that? It's not such a hot topic anymore. It seems like, maybe because the crypto thing went down quite a lot. But you have I don't know if you still have a Blocktrace company. You're working with it. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, sure. It's basically a startup that I'm working on. It's like a third life, I guess you should say, which is all about analysis of blockchain transactions and understanding if the sources of the transactions, are they connected? Because it's a blockchain, you basically can map the entire transaction history. So mining this data and trying to understand it better, and trying to see special signs whether you're working with someone who might be suspicious, etc. So it's basically risk management. Yeah.
Do you also do asset recovery, which is kind of, if maybe I don't know too much about blockchain, but is that a thing? Is it possible to recover an asset on blockchain?
Without the private key, there is no such thing. It basically you can't brute force it, at least not with today's tools. What I usually do is I'll work with the bank that wants to bring in a customer, and the bank wants to understand whether that customer is trustworthy because they have assets on the blockchain. So then it's kind of like trying to understand credit history, but we want to see the history of the customer before coming into the bank to make sure that they've passed KYC requirements. In the blockchain, it's actually easier than it is in the real world because you can actually trace the entire thing through the block, i.e. block trace. Yeah.
Okay, and what are the topics now which are hot in the blockchain world? I'm not following it as so much as I used to. So could you tell us what's happening at the moment? What are you interested in? What are you reading about?
Well, in the blockchain world, it's kind of like it's a bit stagnating in terms of the standard stuff. There's now extra layers being built for kind of the stable coins and coins that are built for having interest, etc. There's a lot of bad players in the game, so I wouldn't say it's something to be very excited about just now. Maybe in 5 years there's going to be something truly groundbreaking. It's basically like a breeding ground. It's like it's like a swamp, and there's things are growing, but it's still kind of dirty and disgusting in many ways. No, the other things that I work on are mostly about writing the other books, etc. So it's less about the blockchain; it's more about the upcoming stuff that I'm working on for the DevOps stuff.
As you mentioned, the bad guys are still in the game. They're not out yet. They're still there in the blockchain scene.
Bad guys in terms of companies, scams or companies that create coins for no reason. So it's basically a get rich. There's basically no regulation. So you can have what we call whales, bringing the price down and bring it back up to basically destroy investments and grab the money and get out. So if you have a few $1 million, you can still play very much. You can tilt the map in the blockchain markets very, very easily. There's no regulations, so basically nothing's going to happen to you too much unless you're like a publicly traded company. Then there might be a few other options. Yeah.
For me, the blockchain scene feels like the first morning of build stuff. It's so chaotic, and you don't know what to expect. You have to wait and see. So, okay, let's leave it there because it's really difficult. Is there a fourth life that you have that we don't know? Music, blockchain, startups. What else there? Or if no, I want to ask you about the books. It's the first book you are now creating, right? Yeah. So, how do you do that? How much time does it take you? And I can imagine a lot of people at some point of their life, they think maybe I should write a book, but that sounds like a very big challenge. Could you inspire us and give any tips?
Well, deciding to write a book and actually finishing the book are two different things. I've decided to write 7 books. 2 of them were actually realized. The third one is in progress. It probably is going to take at least another year. On average, it takes 2 to 3 years to write a book for me, because it happens between everything that you do. So it happens after you put the kids to sleep and before you yourself go to sleep. It happens on the train. It happens when you have a free 30 minutes lunchtime at work. It basically happens between your other life. And you have to do it consistently. So when you don't do it consistently, it takes years, which is exactly what I'm doing. I'm not doing it consistently. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe Roy is not the best guy to ask this question about how to write the book like in a very simple and fast way. But maybe that's not the case of writing books. I don't know.
I don't think it happens easy and fast unless you're like Stephen King or whatever. But even he has a process on writing where he talks about the writing process. And the idea is to not let yourself stop. So I'm just trying to do things as they're possible. So I'm actually writing 2 books at this point. I'm rewriting The Art of Unit Testing in JavaScript, and I'm writing a book called Pipeline Driven. Used to be called Enterprise DevOps, and then I realized DevOps is a horrible name, and everyone just says ops everything. So it's a pipeline driven world. So I'm writing them both in parallel, and every day one of them is winning a bit more. So I'm on the 3rd chapter in one of them. I'm on the 2nd chapter in the other. It's a process, so that's the way it works. It just takes time. Yeah.
And you have some time, talking about time, you have some time still to choose to go to Roy's speech. It's going to happen at 2 p.m. at Alpha 1 stage or Alpha 2 stage?
I think it's the first one, the big one, the bigger one? Or?
The bigger one, the Alpha 1, I guess, the stage. The Alpha stage, first one.
Alpha.
Alpha?
Alpha.
Alpha.
Alfalfa. Okay.
Okay, that's good. So, Agne, let's get back to you and see what you got.